Hello guys, hope you're having a wonderful day. It is Tuesday. We are currently, on our way to doing a bit more in terms of ranting on the channel. Tuesday and Thursdays are our ranting days, so here we are. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. The Patreon button is also down below. If you want to be involved in the prize draw that takes place on the 6th of August, then make sure you are subscribed to the Patreon or you become a member of the channel. Either of those two things means you are financially supporting the channel. You're doing me a huge solid and giving me more time to do this and to being able to explain it to the tax man and things like that. So if you want to do that, you'll be involved in the prize draw. The top draw prize this month will be a £50 worth of models from Composite Games and a box set of Deathwing Terminators, the command box set for the Dark Angel. So that's all there for you. A big thank you to Composite Games. Please, if you're going to get yourself any models over the next few weeks, make sure you go and give them some love. Use the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 5% off at checkout, which is, a nice little checkout for you. Nice little bunts off your deal there. Every little helps. All of it goes into the account that I use to get models for the channel or for the Silver Sabers or Astral Blades and prize draw things like that. So whack it all in there, get yourself some models, have some fun, and away we go. Somebody said to me the other day, and I do watch the comments sometimes, as you guys know, because I like to engage with you. And somebody said, oh, he's taking off the bolt gun footage because he's so bad at it. Yeah, I know I'm bad at it. Doesn't mean it's a bad game though. I know I'm bad at it. I'm terrible at first-person shooter games. I'm an RPG guy. Sue me. Moving on to our rant for the day. It is a controversial one. It is Chaos are the worst faction in Warhammer 40,000. Now, I know this one is going to generate some controversy and maybe even a little hate. Perhaps a few of you have clicked dislike before we even get started, and that's fine. Rabid tribalism being what it is these days, I get it. Right? I'm with you. Before we get going, though, I wanted to set something straight before I even touch on any of this. I love Chaos. I love how it serves as a corrupting force, and I love the stories where we get to see that in full flow. Especially when entire armies like the Crimson Tide believe they are fighting for the Emperor, but in their blood haze from Khorne, they don't get that they are really serving his whims for the longest time. That's Chaos at its best for me, and as a faction, they should be the most powerful thing in the setting, beyond being a foil for the good guys to whack their heads against. Alright? Cool. I want what's best for Chaos, and at the moment, there is a bit of whiplash around Chaos, and I'll get into that a bit later on, but as a writer, as somebody who likes narrative design, and who looks into these things, and world building and stuff, this is not good. I would look at this as an antagonist and think, that's a load of nonsense. But moving on. Rapidly, though, we are seeing the Tyranids, the bugs, the xenomorph wannabes, we are seeing them supplant Chaos as the main antagonists of Warhammer 40,000. Don't believe me? Well, the threat of the Tyranids is such that it dwarfs the Chaos Gods and their petty games. When the Chaos Gods tried everything in their power to take down the Imperium, it ended up in the Horus Heresy. A massive civil war, to be sure. But mere tendrils of the main Tyranid force have caused Horus Heresy-sized conflicts, and we are centuries, perhaps even millennia, away from the real bulk of the hive mind arriving in the Milky Way. If it's a massive octopus or squid below the galactic plane pushing up forwards, its tendrils, its tentacles are only just about touching our galaxy. And we're seeing Horus Heresy-sized battles going on already. Imagine when the real thing gets here, we're all dead. This has a lot to do with the escalation of the threat that happens in 40k all of the time, sure. But it also puts Chaos into a stark light. I hold 40k Chaos in utter contempt as a writer. Not because they aren't cool, they can be, but for the absolute shambles they have made of their 30 plus years at the top of the antagonist pile. They've had their time in the sun for 3 decades now. But I don't fear Chaos and their effect on the 40k setting. It's localized, and if the Imperium is united in any way, Chaos is easily turned back. We've seen it time and time again on the macro narrative of 40k. I mean, they created a massive rip in space-time down the centre of the Imperium itself, and they still can't win or hold down advantages on the macro level. And that's when I'm going to get into my first analogy, the cheating boxer analogy. You know I love me some analogies. Anyone who's been in the channel for a while will know I love me some analogies. So here's one for Chaos. There have been boxing fights over the years in the sport of boxing where it is so obvious one boxer is punching the head off of another, but the referee steps in to protect the favourite and force both fighters to break it up before allowing them to re-engage. They do this to get to the end of the fight where the crooked judges can declare the fight a draw on their scorecards, or even worse, and win for the pummeled favourite. Does this ring a bell, 40k fans? Because both of you guys, if you're an Imperium fan or a Chaos fan, both of you guys have been on the receiving end of such bullshit over the years. Imagine, for instance, in modern 40k, Chaos is the punch-drunk favourite, the Imperium is the actual winning boxer, and Games Workshop the crooked referee. It is important to know, however, that this is a recent phenomenon, at least when it's in favour of Chaos, right? Back in the days of the Eye of Terror campaign and other events like it, Chaos would legitimately win, hands down. In fact, it is still a controversy in that global campaign, and the reason we have not seen one of its like since, that Games Workshop basically brute forced a draw when, up until the dying minutes of the tallying up process of results for that worldwide campaign, Chaos were free and clear ahead of the Imperium. Instead of giving a clear and viable result, with Chaos winning the main planets in the campaign, Cadia included, they instead reneged on their promise and made the Eye of Terror an ongoing campaign with no clear end, until the fall of Cadia almost 15 years later in late 2017, early 2018. Alright? Everyone remembers the Eye of Terror campaign, by the way, 2003. If you don't ask your dad, he'll know. Yeah, 2003 was a big year. It was the one time Games Workshop did something truly epic and really, really ambitious. The Eye of Terror campaign was essentially the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler, coming out of the Eye of Terror and having a go of Cadia and all of the places around that. It was the prophesized war, right? And it was going on then, and it was meant to like bring down the curtain on the current edition and move us into another one. Thing is, though, Games Workshop wanted the Imperium to win and push back Abaddon so that they could make Cadia fall later on. And when that didn't happen, they just brute forced it anyway. So, believe me when I say to you, Chaos fans, I understand you've been on the receiving end of this analogy more than once. But that's not the actual premise that we're going with for the modern hobby. The modern hobby is not Chaos losing all the time, let's be honest, right? In terms of a micro scale. This win, however, was made possible by Chaos players being more organised online into their own forums than any real game results coming in. I believe this totally. So, what I mean by that is, to tally up your results in the Eye of Terror, you would go onto the Games Workshop website, you'd type in your result and you'd send it in. And that would be it, right? Whatever sector you were fighting in, whenever you were fighting, you would send that in and that would be what you were doing. It didn't really lean into the good parts of the hobby, people playing games. It lent into who's got the best and most organised forums out there. Well, of course, it's the Chaos guys, right? They're the ones with the best forums. They're the ones with those close-knit communities, right? Because they're the outcasts. So they win the campaign because they have more votes than anyone else in more concentrated ways than anyone else. This is also another topic for 40k as a space, to be honest with you. Whenever Chaos win anything, the setting has to bend over backwards to try and maintain itself as something in which wars are still going on. We all saw with the end times of the fantasy battle game what happens when Chaos just wins. It's not pretty and leads to the bastardization of an entire setting. In recent years though, through aspects of the lore, Chaos is almost always in the ascendancy. Each battle goes without a hitch if it's a major one for Chaos. Any losses that Chaos take, they do so while shaking their fists in rage, not really hurt, but needing to retreat for a bit to recoup. The Plague Wars, the Terran Crusade, the Indomitus Crusade, and other modern conflicts have a definite sense of happening because the plot needs them to, and throwing Guilliman against his brothers in Mortarion and Magnus to just have them slapped aside. One, with a big help from the Emperor in regards to Mortarion, I grant you, but it still stands. Chaos are treated as a mere annoyance on Guilliman's way to terror, but one that continues to get the rub of the green in terms of victories in a desperate attempt by Games Workshop to keep them relevant. We all know the largest culprit of this issue, of this phenomenon. Cadia itself. The trigger on this should have been pulled back in 2003 when the results of the Eye of Terror campaign were made public. Cadia should have fallen right then and there, the Great Rift should have happened, and onwards we go. The fact that this was not the case essentially ensured that Abaddon's reputation as a complete failure was cemented by the time Cadia actually fell, and he ended up being beaten up by an old man and a flying woman. The protection of Chaos goes beyond this though. Anyone reading any of the novels involving them, like the Black Legion series or any Horus Heresy book, will show you how Chaos Primarchs are regularly posed as the most powerful. Here are a few examples, and by a few, I mean fucking 10. Just off the top of my head. Number 1, this is in the Horus Heresy series. Number 1, Conrad Kurz beats both Guilliman and the Lion at the same time. Number 2, Fulgrim defeats Ferrus Manus twice with very little effort at all, decapitating him on the second time. 3, Vulcan loses to fucking everybody, literally all of the time. Number 4, Leman Russ looks like an utter moron for attacking Prospero and throws himself at Horus in shame, and fails. Well done, Space Daddy Puppy. Number 5, Abaddon loses to Sigismund 3 times. Abaddon loses to him 3 times. Each time saved by a lucky unbalancing or something like that, until finally Sigismund has him dead to rights against the wall, his blade coming down. Abaddon just teleports away. Somehow, despite the author telling us teleporting to and from Terra at that time of the Siege of Terra was fucking impossible. Number 6, Angron beats Guilliman. Number 7, Guilliman can't even beat Lorgar when Lorgar is nothing but a crying nerd. Number 8, the only people to beat Angron are a powered-up Sanguinius and Perturabo, another traitor Primarch. Number 9, Jagatai Khan survives his battle with Mortarion on a technicality, and technically he dies for all intents and purposes, and is knocked out of the war and he lost. After a 3-book build-up, by the way, by the White Scars author himself. Chris Wright, the White Scars guy, even in his book, the Khan loses to Mortarion, right? Mortarion takes the Khan out of the war. Now, Mortarion's taking out the war as well, don't get me wrong, that's cool. But the Chaos guys could afford to lose Mortarion. The Imperium couldn't afford to lose the Khan. That's what I'm saying. These losses, they're meant to be a draw, but the draws are never equal. It's always Imperium loses, Chaos gets what they want in the end, right? Number 10, Leman Russ is the only person to get a recorded, definite win against the Primarch who fell to Chaos, right? Aside from Dawn, who kills Alfarius, but he doesn't really, let's be honest, because the main Alfarius, Omegon, is elsewhere. Alfarius at that stage was almost setting himself up to be killed, right? Okay. Russ is the only person to get a recorded definite win in a duel with the Primarch who fell to Chaos, and he is the most insufferable loyalist to give it to, and he wins against Magnus, who is resolutely, for the most part, refusing to fight back or use the full brunt of his Chaos-gifted powers, okay? Alfarius, when he gets beaten by Dawn, is just another Primarch, and not a very powerful one at that. He doesn't have the powers of Chaos jamming up his arse just yet, like Magnus does, okay? Cool. Those are 10 examples off the top of my head. Just off the top of my head. I'll do 3 more from other books. All of them by Aaron Dembski Bowden, weirdly. But anyway. So, there's 10 examples, and I'm sure there are more that I'm not hearing, and that I'm not remembering. Try this one on for size from the Black Legion books and beyond, though. Number 1, and I'm really salty about this one, 1,000 Sun Sorcerer in Kaon immediately and effortlessly kills 4 fully trained and armoured Grey Knights. These are Space Marines with the Emperor's Gene Seed who are trained just to fight Psykers. And he beats them easily. No. No. If you have no respect for the lore of 40k, just don't write fucking books, please. Number 2. One Night Lord is able to take on a Terminator Captain all by himself after a very protracted fight where he has no ammo left, gutting the Captain even though the Night Lord dies shortly afterwards. Number 3, an entire chapter of fully souped up, ready to go, fresh Astartes is wiped out by a rather small Chaos Warband loyal to Talos in the Night Lord's trilogy in one battle. An entire fucking chapter. This happens all the time in a micro level. But what do I mean when I say micro level? What's the difference? What do I mean by that? Well, they, in Chaos to me, have an undeserved big bad status. So for all their apparent power and cool edge, what the Chaos actually do in the setting. Right? For all of these stories where Chaos get the upper hand and they're better than everybody else and you need to just be aware of how cool they are. Alright, cool. Awesome. What do they do on a macro level? So the entire setting as a whole? Nothing. Terra is still there. They've been given a massive warp rift down the centre of the fucking galaxy. Has the Imperium fallen? No. In fact, all it is proving is that maybe we don't need the Astronomicon at all, and the Emperor being on the Golden Throne is a massive waste of energy and time. As let's be honest, Terra is a dump of the world that could just be demon fodder and no one would really care, and Imperium Nihilus seems to be doing just fine without the Astronomicon. It's a constant war zone, yes, but it's not falling. My main issue with Chaos is that they are given the achievements of a huge 40k faction without actually earning any of them in the grand narrative. This is the difference that I have an issue with in Black and White, and I'm going to explain it in 2 points. One on a micro level and one on a macro level, okay? The macro level of Chaos. The level of, you know, Marine versus Marine, Primarch versus Primarch, book to book, scene to scene. Chaos are represented as a quite insufferable, overbearing and try-hard cool faction of ultra-antagonists who simply aren't allowed to lose. And even if they do so in the most cool way possible without actually losing anything of stakes. They rob the stakes from almost every battle they are involved in. If they win, they won't continue as they lost too much, but they looked really cool and powerful doing it though, didn't they? If they lose, they just leave swearing vengeance, but really they won because they stole what they came for in the first place and looked really cool and powerful doing it. Right? That's the micro level of Chaos. But let's look at the macro level. Let's zoom out. So we're looking at that one little conflict there in this one book. Let's zoom out to the entire setting. Let's pull the camera back. On a macro level, Chaos are never allowed a win. Like, almost never at all. This is why I hold them in such disdain. They get wins that piss all over the current lore in singular books and scenes, only to go on and have victories that they do get in the wider setting be absolutely meaningless. Do you know what Abaddon really achieved by destroying Cadia? He set off a sequence of events that led to fucking Rabute Gilliman returning and turning back his entire Black Crusade. That's it. That's what he achieved. The Great Rift does nothing. It does nothing from a narrative standpoint. It just sits there in the middle of the galaxy as a cool looking thing where people go, ooh, chaos is coming out of this. No, it's not. No, it's not. On a macro level, chaos does fuck all because it's not allowed to do anything. That's why I have such a problem with chaos, and that's what I was saying to you before. I love chaos. They deserve better. Right? The Great Rift means nothing. Imperium Nihilus holds, and Abaddon is still an emperor without a throne or an empire, and that's pathetic. So here's an olive branch to chaos at the end, right? Here's an olive branch to you as a chaos fan. Here is my main issue with chaos. It deserves more. On a micro level, chaos forces should be more balanced, and actually, we should do all we can to make them sympathetic. They should lose every once in a while. I think for all his faults, Aaron Dembski Bowden did a good job in the Black Legion and Night Lords novels by making the Chaos Space Marines more relatable and believable. More books should be written in that style. Just tone down, please, the constant effortless wins Chaos are given in those books. It makes the writer, the setting, and the faction look entirely silly when they are slicing Grey Knights down like wheat before the chaff, like only to be beaten up by Ursarkar Creed in the main narrative. How does that even happen? I'm sorry, that's stupid. Your entire setting is massive, I get it. 40k is huge, and it's really difficult to police all of these moving parts all at once. But for me, I'm sorry, you need to do a better job of doing things like that, right? There should be a hierarchy of what beats what, and what can beat what, and how it can beat what. Don't get me wrong, you can have MacGuffins in there, you can have lucky wins here or there. I'm not saying you shouldn't do things out of the box, but what I'm saying is there should be a clear hierarchy. Custodes, Grey Knights, Space Marines. Right? That's it. That's the hierarchy. If you are a Chaos Space Marine, you are slightly above a normal Space Marine. You should have that threat. No problem. Right? You should beat a Space Marine. A Chaos Space Marine should beat a normal Space Marine 6 times out of 10. 6 times out of 10. A Grey Knight should beat any of the other two. I'd say 7 times out of 10. And if the other person is a Psyker, the Grey Knight should be beating them 9 times out of 10. Because that's what they fight against. Powers of the Warp, right? There should be a clear and defined thing here. And if you're going to have Kaon, a Psyker of that level, beating 4 Grey Knights, there needs to be mitigating circumstances onto why this time is different. That's what good writers do, guys. Right? They make believable situations where this time the stakes are higher, this time it's different, and this time this guy wins because they've set the puzzle pieces in place for it. He doesn't just win because Chaos lol. And then you zoom out to the rest of the actual setting, and Chaos are losing everywhere. All that does, it makes everybody a loser. If your faction lost in that book to Chaos, you're a bit salty about it, but it's fine. And then you zoom out the actual camera to look at the entire setting as a whole, and Chaos are getting their shit pushed in by an old man and a flying saintly woman. Are you shitting me? Like, well, how does that make you feel about your faction? So Chaos loses because they lose the macro level event, right? The Space Marine player loses because they've just seen their forces get ripped apart by Chaos effortlessly, right? Nobody wins. Absolutely nobody wins. Chaos by now, in my opinion, should have a massive, stable region of space to rule and call their own. If you're going to pull the trigger on Cadia, have it have a lasting impact in the setting beyond bringing fucking Gilliman back again, right? A place not governed by demons should be what Abaddon rules. But a place ruled by Abaddon in a warped and dark mirror to the secular empire the Emperor once wanted to build, okay? At the core of Abaddon's vision, the reason why he resists the Chaos Gods so much is because he saw what happened to Horus, as by the end he was just a puppet for the gods, and it was a shitty thing to see, right? And number two, at his core, Abaddon believed in the Emperor's vision for an Imperium. He just didn't think the Emperor was the right person to pull it off. And he loved Horus, and he thought that was the guy to pull it off. And he was wrong. Now Abaddon thinks, well, he was wrong, I'm the guy to pull it off. So he makes a secular empire. There, the worship of the gods of chaos should be tolerated, yes, because they're useful. But in reality, it is sanity, reason, and the art of war that is celebrated. We create, in Abaddon the Despoiler, the big boss from Metal Gear Solid of Warhammer 40k. He's a guy who wants a massive secular imperium in which humanity rules as utter despots, right? But he wants that and constant wars, so that his men will always have a place in the galaxy. Because that's who he's fighting for. He's fighting for the lost Astartes who are going to be cast aside at the end of the Great Crusade. When Abaddon's finished with the Milky Way, he's going to go and sail off to another galaxy entirely and start pushing people's shit in over there. That's what he's going to do. That's how you make Chaos badass, believable, and relatable. There's nothing more powerful in fiction than a villain that you kind of understand. You know, I kind of get what he's saying there. I kind of respect that. There's nothing more powerful than that. If we are doing Imperium Nihilus, then have the place be Abaddon's domain and have a role reversal there. Have the Imperials be the rebels there and the guerrilla fighters. That would make tragic heroes like the Blood Angels and other chapters like them stand out a lot more from people like the Ultramarines and people like that. And by the way, don't let people cross the Great Rift. Don't let people just cross it. Gilliman should not have arrived at the Shield of Baal, right? Do you know what should have arrived at the Shield of Baal to push away to push away Leviathan? Fucking Chaos. Khorne should have arrived. Angron should have arrived and said, no, the Blood Angels are mine. They've always been mine. They should be mine. I'm taking them. I'm taking them. Then you bring back the Sanguinor as like, you know, a soul shard of Sanguinius who maybe takes over Dante's body and he claps fucking Angron, right? You send them back. But Chaos went there and they expended most of their energies getting rid of Leviathan so they could have the Blood Angels to themselves. Imagine how awesome a thing that would be to see Chaos actually fighting something useful for a change and getting rid of Leviathan from Baal just because they want their chance. And they're about to just take over the Blood Angels when Sanguinius comes back in spiritual form. Doesn't just come back as spirit, possesses Dante, he beats back the Chaos forces, and everyone licks their wounds. Now, what I've just suggested there is still a draw, but it's a draw where everybody wins. The Blood Angels fought off the Tyranids for a while, and they got to fight off Angron and Khorne and Chaos beat the ever-loving shit out of the biggest threat to ever face the galaxy, Leviathan, to show how powerful they are. And the only thing that turned them back was fucking Sanguinius coming back, at least for a time, before he goes back to the warp again, right? Have Leviathan coming in being the only thing that finally starts to give the Imperials an opening to hit Abaddon where it hurts, and save Baal and other sectors from his rule, even though his empire stays intact. All the pieces are there in the setting to make Chaos great, and that's why I find it utterly contemptible watching what they do with Chaos in the current 40k timeline. I don't think it's good writing practice. I don't think they're doing a good job with Chaos overall. I think they deserve a lot more, and I hold the current Chaos faction in utter fucking contempt for that reason. At the moment though, the writers of Games Workshop want to have their cake and eat it. They want Chaos to win all the time, to look powerful in standalone books, which make us think, wow, these Chaos dudes are the real deal, only for us to look at the actual campaigns and lore of wider 40k to realise they are a paper tiger of a threat. Pathetic, wasted, worthy only of contempt and memes. That's why we have failed Badon, that's why it's not fair, and that's why Chaos should be better than what they are. What do you guys think? I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to leave it there. I will see you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. And oh my god, I'm so bad at this fucking game. I'll see you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. I'll see you on Thursday for another rant. This time, we'll be talking about teams in 40k. In 40k tournaments, professional teams. Are they worth being here? Are they a force for good or not? We'll see. I'm going to do a bit of investigating, and I'll see you there and then. Have a lovely rest of your day. I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye now.